Mortal Kombat is one of the longest running video game franchises of all time. It's always been very violent, bloody, gory, but also a very competitive and balanced fighting game at the same time. This year, NetherRealm Studios has brought the franchise back with Mortal Kombat 11, and they've even decided to port it over to the Nintendo Switch version, which hasn't been getting a lot of attention. So I'm gonna play it and let you know if I think Mortal Kombat 11 is worth it on the Nintendo Switch. Before even talking about the game specifically, I'd like to address the elephant in the room. This game obviously looks a lot worse than the PlayStation and Xbox One versions of the game, but it actually plays surprisingly well. Throughout my testing of the game, I've only had the game really drop frames once or twice throughout my time playing, so the performance is actually really good. Unfortunately, because of the capabilities of the Switch, a lot of the graphics had to be toned down, and a lot of the textures, especially in the background, actually look kind of rough. The characters themselves also look a little soft sometimes, and it doesn't really look as sharp as you would expect the game to look nowadays, but obviously some compromises had to be made in order for the game to run properly on the Nintendo Switch. I'd like to address something real quick too. I've actually managed to not have to buy an SD card for my Nintendo Switch until basically now. Mortal Kombat has a very hefty 16GB update that you'll have to do at launch. It's not that big of a deal, but I figured it's something worth mentioning. So I'm basically going to talk about the 4 main modes in the game. First, I'll talk about the story mode, which is probably the best part of Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat basically has the best story of all fighting games, and it's actually a blast to play. A lot of the characters have personality, and it's really fun to kind of see the characters interact in the story. I don't really want to get too into the story, as I don't really want to spoil it since it's such a small experience, but it's definitely something worth playing. The story mode takes about 6 or 7 hours to beat depending on the difficulty that you put it on. You can set it to easy mode if you just want to kind of watch the experience, but if you want something more challenging and something that would last a little longer, you can probably set it on the harder difficulties as well. The game is being released with 25 characters, which is a pretty good amount for a fighting game. There's also over 10 stages in the game, so you'll always have a nice variety of stages to play. The next one I want to talk about is the arcade tower. It's basically just like all the other games. This time it's broken down into 5 different towers. The easiest tower has 5 opponents and the hardest one has 25. In the towers, you can also choose whether you want to play them on easy, medium, hard, and all the other difficulties. There's nothing much to talk about the arcade towers except that occasionally you'll have some challenges that you'll have to complete on the screen. If you complete the challenges, you get some extra coins, which will help you unlock stuff in the Crypt, but I'll talk more about the Crypt a little later on in the video. There's also the Tower of Time, which is basically the challenge mode. Once again, you have to do a series of fights in this mode, except this time the enemies have a lot of modifiers on them. Sometimes they'll have homing missiles, acid rain, sometimes the screen will go dark. It's basically just a bunch of different things to make the game harder, and sometimes it's very, very hard, which is really unfortunate because this is where a lot of the currency comes from, so you're going to end up having to spend a good amount of time here if you want to unlock a bunch of different costumes in the Crypt. They have the regular versus mode where you can play against a friend or an AI opponent. Of course, like every good fighting game, there's an online mode. They have regular versus 1v1 unranked matches. They have the King of the Hill matches, which is really fun. For those of you that don't know what it is, basically everybody gathers in a room, and then if you win the match, you get to stay on and play against opponents until you lose. It's a lot of fun because you get to kind of wait for your turn, and then you get to watch the winner play and try to come up with a strategy to beat him. It's actually a lot of fun to play, especially if you do it with friends, which is very convenient because you can create custom lobbies for all of these modes, so you can do your own King of the Hill, you can do your own 1v1 matches, and you can play with your friends. Of course, there's ranked matches, which is first to 3 or best of 5, so you'll end up spending a lot of time playing against the same opponent, which is a good or bad thing depending on how you feel about it. The online modes were pretty good. There wasn't really any lag when I was playing, and the game in general doesn't really have much lag. The game also has a tutorial mode. They have the usual training mode where you can play against a dummy AI, but they also have a more advanced training mode. There's a mode that covers from the basics to the advanced combos. Unfortunately, there isn't anything that's character specific on the Nintendo Switch, but there's still a lot of stuff in here to cover the basics of Mortal Kombat, which is very nice if you're new to the game. The Crypt is basically where you will unlock everything. All the different costumes, music, moves, fatalities, and even concept art can be unlocked here. It's a little different this year. They basically set it up as a third-person adventure game where you can open up random chests and even smash through walls and different obstacles to find additional coins and new items. The graphics are a little rough in this area on the Nintendo Switch, but hey, at least it's a fun and innovative way to unlock new things. Customization in this game is very in-depth. You can change how your character looks, you can change their intro cinematics, you can change their different moves, fatalities. You can be very specific with a lot of different things in the game. This is both a good and bad thing because if you're a competitive fighting game player, you're going to end up fighting against a lot of people with different moves than what's allowed. Since they revealed for Mortal Kombat that custom setups weren't going to be allowed, you're going to have to play with the tournament defaults. Overall, I think Mortal Kombat is a pretty good package on the Nintendo Switch. I think the real question here is it worth getting over the PlayStation or Xbox or PC version? And I think that really depends up to you. If all you care about is graphics and don't really care about the portable aspect of the game, obviously I recommend that you buy it on the PC or Xbox or PlayStation 4. But honestly, the capability to be able to play wherever you want has been pretty awesome. There's already been multiple situations where I've just randomly whipped out the Nintendo Switch, I've set it on the table, I took out 2 controllers and we started playing. That to me is pretty invaluable. So honestly, if you own a Nintendo Switch and you want to play Mortal Kombat, this is a perfectly good option to have. All in all, I'm going to have to say that Mortal Kombat 11 on the Switch is definitely worth it. So what do you think about Mortal Kombat 11? Do the lower res graphics really ruin the experience for you? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you like our content, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with the latest video game content. This was Steven from Team Blur, and I'll see you next time.